All right, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when we go live here, and then I'll tweet out the link once we have
Cool.
it. Okay. All right. We okay, let me all right, we are live. I'm gonna tweet out the link here real quick, and then I'll just let some people join and
Yeah,
we'll
cool.
we'll get to it. So yeah. Okay, I just tweeted it out and I'll wait for people to join real quick. Let me go to okay. All right, we're in. Hello everyone. Try to pull up YouTube Studio here real quick, but for the few people that are in here, I am joined today by my good friend Sam Ingram, a betting expert. Make sure you listen to the Betting Expert podcast and read everything that Sam does over at Betting Expert. Um, First of all, Sam, let's just chat a little bit before we get started. How you doing, first off? It's been a while.
Yeah, good. Good, mate. It has been a while, unfortunately.
That's okay.
Missing our weekly Wonder Go
Yeah.
sessions. That's a
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah, it's okay though. Tis life sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But
How are you finding going out solo? New
it's
YouTube channel,
okay
new
right
Substack.
now. Yeah, it's okay. I had a goal in mind of what I wanted to hit, and I'm about to hit it probably today, which is good. So
Nice.
things
On
are off
the
to a good
Substack.
start. Yeah, I'm starting to like it a little bit. It allows me to do a lot of like long form stuff, which I really like doing. Doing more like, tactical stuff and data stuff as opposed to just, giving out the picks. So I really like doing that. So that's been nice, been a good way to get my, projections and simulations and everything out to the people as well, which has been good. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I'll be honest, like when I first started, like the very first article that I did, like just the weekend, like, best bets article, I was just like, I felt alive again, like breaking it down and going through it again. I was like, it's been a while. I was like, all right, this feels
Yeah,
good,
nice. You
So
must, what, did you have like a month off?
yeah, yeah, it was basically like a month off. Yeah. Unfortunately, getting a Substack started is not as easy as you'd think. There's a lot of legal paperwork and things and just have to go through, so it just takes a while as well. And I also was hoping that a full-time job would come along pretty quickly, and it didn't, which is totally fine. So I was just like, all right, well, this is what I got to try to do for the time being. So, but yeah, no, it's been good. Before we get started, though, I have to ask you. Um, I saw, unfortunately, that Plymouth Argyle is in the relegation zone right now.
Do we
I-
have
Is it
to?
is it is
Do we
it
have
time for is it time for Wayne to go?
Um, it's really hard for me to sit here and say no, to be honest, because the results have just been terrible. The performances away from home, especially, and we'll get on to that later because
Yeah,
I've got an anti-Argyle bet, like I have done every single week on the Betting Expert podcast. I think they're getting
yeah.
sick of it, to be honest. But yeah, it's hard for me to make a case for him. It really is. The
Mhm.
only thing is, with the squad we've got, with the injuries we've got at present, I just don't know if a new manager coming in at this stage of the season, I don't know if they're going to be able to get them to a level where that'd be better than where they're at now. Maybe I could be totally wrong. Maybe that's what we need to do. But the
Mhm.
chairman Simon Allett has come out and said they're going to stick with him. They brought in Mike Phelan, obviously the old Man United assistant
Mhm.
under Fergie, so he should bring a bit of experience. And I suppose we'll see how that gets on. But they've got a really tough game this weekend, so
Yeah,
not confident in the slightest.
yeah. Before we get started here, there's a question right off the top, which I know you tweeted out yesterday, and I didn't even realize this because I'll be honest with you, I haven't been paying attention to the Conference League at all this year. But
Why not?
Chelsea's sending their like academy players to play in negative 10 degrees Celsius weather in
Yeah,
Kazakhstan.
yes, they're sending, I don't know how many, I think it's double digits, 10 plus. And I looked yesterday, Kazakhstan at this time of day, -10, -12.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and obviously, I don't think anyone at Chelsea really wants to play that game. So I'm
No.
really intrigued how that game's gonna go. It opened at a -2 Asian handicap on Chelsea,
Okay.
and that's since moved to like -1.25.
Well, it's
And I was looking at that. I was looking at Astana +2, but I just wasn't man enough to take it because
yeah,
obviously they're
not
crap.
great.
Not great.
Um,
I don't know if there'll be a match for Chelsea, but in those conditions against like a bunch of academy players, I don't
yeah.
know. I'm really intrigued.
So that
And
match
it
actually
kicks off at
starts
like,
in 11
yeah.
minutes. So I was
So
just
that's
gonna look up the current.
3:30,
Yeah.
3:30 UK time. And then they've got
Yeah.
a 7 p.m. Sunday kickoff in the Premier League, which is also really unusual.
Yeah, I saw that too. Double one, two of them too. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm
very
not sure
weird.
why. I don't know if
I
that's
mean,
like a
guess
TV
because,
deal or
yeah,
I
well,
don't
you
know.
could make that, I guess, because Chelsea and Tottenham are playing on Thursday, but like that's never been the case before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, strange.
Strange, but Chelsea's down to minus 220. So let me see if decimal odds that would be 1.5 something.
Yeah, they were 1.4 about 20 minutes ago when I
Okay.
last
All
looked.
right.
So
Yeah. So yeah, it's down to 6 to 1. I think everybody wants a little action here early on in the morning. It'll kind of be going on as we go out here. Okay. Yeah, so what we're going to do here for everybody who's listening, we are going to just run through the 10 Premier League matches and then get some picks from Sam in the championship. I want to get this in under an hour. I don't want to waste, 2 hours of Sam's time today. So if you want all of the rest of the leagues that, I would typically do on these, you can subscribe to the Substack. Or if you just want the picks, I'll put them out Friday at like noon Central Time. So if you're just like, I just want the picks, man, stop making me try to pay you money. I'll give them out for free. I don't care. So let's start things off with, I think there's a natural place to start, Sam. It's the Manchester Derby, which is an interesting one to say the least, given the
mhm.
situation that both these teams are in right now. As far as the odds are concerned, Man City is now at minus 175. Man United is at plus 425. The draw is at plus 350. And the total is sitting at about 3.5. Over 3.5 is plus 110 or 2.1 in decimal odds. Sam, I don't really have anything for this match. I think both teams are in a state of peril, honestly,
Yeah,
as it currently stands. And I don't really know which way to go with this one, if I'm being
yeah.
honest. So how do you see this thing going so far, right off the bat?
I'm exactly the same. Like, where do you even start with this?
I
Like,
don't know,
Manchester
man.
City -175, lost again last night, obviously
Yep,
2-0 to Juventus. I didn't actually watch the match. Did you
they were
see it?
not good.
No, I was watching Dortmund
Yeah, that
at the
was fun.
time. That was a bit of fun.
Second
0-0
half
at
was a
half
lot of
time.
fun.
I
Yeah,
was I was toying with that over 3.5
yeah,
for a few days. I didn't take it in the end. At half time, I thought, I've
yep.
kind of got off lightly there. And then was it 4 5 goals
Oh
in the
yeah,
second
five.
half?
Yeah, 5 goal second half.
Yeah, that was a bit of fun. But
Yeah.
going back to City, yeah, they've won one game in 10 in all comps. And
Mhm.
that was, to be fair, their most recent home game, which was typical because I know both me and you were on the Forest
Oh
plus
yeah, of course.
1.5.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that was obviously going to happen. And it's maybe worth, I don't know if it makes any difference, but it's maybe worth remembering that Ruben Amorim was at Sporting in the Champions
Yeah.
League in City's 4-1 defeat in Portugal. But this Man United squad, obviously, it's very much in its infancy under him. And we're not going to see anything like the Sporting side Amorim sculpted in Portugal. Likely not for the entirety of the season, I would say, but maybe it'll be interesting to see what becomes available to him in January in terms of funds. I'm not sure if he's going to have fortunes to spend. But yeah, in terms of this as a betting heater, the prices, I've just had to venture into a bet builder or same game parlay. I've
Yeah.
ended up with both teams to score and both teams to receive a card at minus
Okay.
133. So City have conceded in 9 of their last 10, which is crazy for Manchester
Yeah.
City, really. But this version of Manchester City, you can kind of get on board with it. You can kind of see why. And you would fully expect them to be able to breach United's backline at home at the Etihad. I'm not usually bothered about head-to-head data, but I think when it's a derby, I think it's really important. I usually stay away from it, but I think it gives good insight into maybe how the occasion is played, because there is naturally much more on the line. That, there's much more pressure from the fans, like Everton versus Liverpool, for example. That's been low scoring in recent years, and I was on under 3.0 goals in that, and before that was postponed in the week. But in the Manchester derby recently, it's been typically high scoring. So I had a look back, and in the last 7 games, which was only spanned maybe 2 or 3 years, um, each of the last games have all gone over 2.5 goals, with both teams to score landed in 6. So typically, this is a game, this is a head-to-head which sees goals. And in terms of the cards market, which gets that both teams to score price up to -133, Anthony Taylor is the ref for this game. He's
Oh
given a
God.
card. Yeah, he's given. To be fair, BJ, you could say that about every ref
I know.
in the Premier League. So
I know.
he's given a card to both teams in 10 of 13 matches this season. And I've looked back through his recent games this season to see like how he operates in the bigger glamour ties, so to speak, in the Premier League. And he gave 5 cards in Tottenham versus Chelsea, 4 in Arsenal versus Liverpool, and 1 to Arnie Slot. United Liverpool saw 5 cards, and Chelsea versus Man City on the first day of the season saw a card each. So both teams were carded in all of those games. So obviously that's maybe how he likes to operate in the bigger games to, keep either side at bay. So yeah, that selection gets us from -189 for both teams to score to -133. And I think that it's probably a worthwhile addition alongside goals. But yeah,
Absolutely.
you might have to pop into the same game parlay to actually
Yeah.
get something for this game.
Yeah, the one thing is United's offense under Amorim has not been great, if we're being honest. Even in they scored 4 goals against Everton, 1.1, 0.8 against Ipswich. They did nothing against Arsenal, 1.6 against Forest. They got to travel to the Czech Republic on Thursday to play Victoria Pleasant in the Europa League.
Not
Um,
ideal.
and by the way, I like Victoria Pleasant quite a bit today in the Europa League for those who maybe didn't catch the live stream earlier. But yeah, so it's it's good that you mentioned the Sporting match against City, right? It's obviously a very different team, and it kind of goes back to the
Mm,
same thing that I've been saying for a long time, is that United is not a good pressing team, and to play a Morium style, it's going to take a long time and or a lot of new players to like actually reach the apex of what he's trying to do. Um, that Sporting match though, he didn't like press City like crazily. He changed them and he sat in the back 5 and he just looked to counter them. And that actually worked because City is incredibly open and vulnerable in transition. I mean, even Juventus, who is, let's be honest, not a great offensive team, a very boring team to watch, hit City multiple times in transition and really expose them. Everybody's been doing it. So, who's to say United can't do the same as well? So yeah, I really like that with Anthony Taylor involved. Gosh, I think he frustrates me more than any other referee because he's like the new Mike Dean in my opinion. But yeah, he's without a doubt he's going to be giving out cards. But yeah, so for me, I'm passing. Maybe, I was maybe looking at potentially taking United team total over 1.5 at +175. Just really hone in on trying to fade City's defense.
mhm.
Yeah, it's the thing is just like I know over on Sky Sports they've been doing a lot of breakdowns of United and like how tentative they are with pressing under Amorum's system and how they're late to getting to balls and it's exposing them and teams are just ripping them apart that way. They've been better, like they were better against Arsenal with their press, I thought. Even against Forest, they got opened up a couple times. Again, they conceded again off a set piece against Forest. City's not one of the best set piece teams, so like they have a break at least in that aspect of this game. But yeah, if I were to look at anything, I would go with what you said. I really like that, especially with Anthony Taylor involved. But if for me, anything maybe just United team total over 1.5 at +175 would be
It's
maybe the way I'd go.
It's just like I think it's just because like I've got City of the last decade
I
in my
know.
head. It's
I
just
know.
so hard to bet against them. Like you say that United over 1.5 goals away at
I
the
wouldn't even think
Etihad.
about
It's
doing that
just
last year.
exactly
I
yeah.
didn't even.
But I think as betters, I think we've just got to rid the last few years and obviously just concentrate on what we see in front of us. But that's so difficult.
I know what you mean. Now it looks like Kovacic will be back for City in this match, which is a huge help to them because, as we've seen right now, a Rico Lewis and Gundogan midfield has no ball winning, and teams are just ripping, playing right through them. Kovacic at least gives them some, some type of semblance in the midfield. But with that being said, Sam. John Stones is not going to play in this match. Nathan Ake is not going to play in this match. Akanji's not going to play in this match. And Rico Lewis is also suspended from the red card against Palace. So it's pretty barren. You might see, we'll probably see Gvardiol slot in as the left center back. And if we're just being honest, he's been incredibly shaky at times defensively. He's obviously a very good progressive left back in that type of aspect. And he played left center back at RB Leipzig very effectively, but for whatever reason, he's just very mistake prone. Um, so yeah, it's not a great situation for City. I
It's
don't
not.
really,
I'm
yeah.
sorry if any City fans are watching, but I am kind of enjoying it.
I am
Like
very no,
going, you know.
I'm not sorry. I'm very much enjoying it. You guys have had too much success. It's
They
no,
might
it's
flip
time.
back to winning. They may
Yeah, they
go
may.
halfway through
I
the
don't think it's
season. They may
ha-
put 20 wins together, but
I said
I'm
this. I don't
enjoying it
think
while
that's
we've got it.
happening. I don't think there's a chance that's happening this year, given how bad they are and how little ball winning they have in the midfield.
Mhm.
I could be dead wrong. We could get to a point where, it's just like, oh yeah, City ripped off 15 straight. Of course they did, just like they always do. But I think it's going to take a lot. I think they're horrible defensively, and Pep's not going to change his tactics. He's going to continue to play a high line. He's going to continue to try to press with a very old squad, if we're being honest. And I don't think that's going to work. So, all
Do
right.
you think we mentioned Amrim spending in
Yeah.
January? Do you reckon Pep goes out and buys like a Rodri replacement, or because
Yeah,
obviously he's out for the
he
season,
really
isn't he?
I mean they should, right? Like that's really if they
Well,
can
they
find
can.
like
If
they
anyone can find,
yeah.
100 million down the sofa, then
Right.
it's Man City.
Exactly. Yeah. Just call up Abu Dhabi and just be like, hey man, I just need just a couple 100 million to bring in some defensive
Yeah, nothing
midfield
crazy.
reinforcements. Just off the top of my head, I can't really think of like obviously there's many great players out there that are available that they could go sign, but yeah, it's gonna take that because like as you've seen in his last few matches, Sam, if you're just relying on Kovacic to be everything for you in terms of ball winning and in the midfield, that's not going to work.
Hmm.
He's old now, which is kind of sad to say because I remember playing FIFA growing up, and Kovacic was always like the young potential guy that you'd sign to every whatever club, and now I'm old and he's old as well. So, um, but yeah, I don't think it's happening. Yeah, their squad's just like old. I watched a video, I can't remember where it's from, but basically saying like their pressing numbers have gone down, their ball recoveries have gone down because they have a bunch of 30-year-olds out there trying to press with De Bruyne and Silva
Well, the
and
glowing
Kovacic.
indictment of that is Kyle Walker, isn't it? Over the
Yeah, Kyle
past couple
Walker, Gundogan,
months,
like it's old, it's an old
fell
squad.
off a
Like,
cliff.
yeah. And so, I guess they need to pull a Chelsea and just like spend, $1 billion on all the potential in one window. And yeah. So, all right, that'll do it for United and City. Let's move on to the set piece derby, Arsenal versus Everton. Arsenal is hang on one second. Arsenal is minus 450. Everton's 11 to 1. The draw is at plus 550. Total is 2.5, about minus 150, unders plus 120. I wrote down my notes, Sam. It's just going to be like, this is just going to be a set piece fest, which I'm very much looking forward to. Um, I am very much, everybody has been, trying to tell me that this Arsenal set piece thing is not sustainable. Um, and I'm going to war with people trying to tell them that it is because they're just so good at them. And if you're constantly sustaining pressure and getting 10 plus corners a match, you're giving yourself an opportunity to score off of them. Now, with that being said, they're going to face one of the most physical teams in terms of set pieces as well as in Everton. And I was doing this last night, Sam. This will be in my best bets and Substack article, but I included a table of percentage of goals and percentage of expected goals off of set pieces this season. Everton is at 50% of their goals off of set pieces. So we're just, we're in full Deitch ball right now. Arsenal is a very good set piece defense. So I don't really see, I wanted to play an under, but I really wanted three here. But the way that I was going when I started researching this was, okay, Arsenal's shot total is at 20 and a half, which I think is pretty high. Now, in theory, people will say, well, Everton will just they'll sit deep in some type of, low defensive block and Arsenal will just take a bunch of shots from outside the box. But that's not really what Arsenal does right now. Arsenal is very much prioritizing high quality chances or at least trying to get them over just taking a bunch of shots. And when you're constantly relying on set pieces, well, then there's fewer shots in those than just taking them from open play. And I went through every single Everton match. The most shots they've allowed in a Premier League match this year is 17 against Tottenham, and they got a red card in the 60th minute. So nobody's seen more than 17 shots against Everton this year, and I don't really see a reason why Arsenal would be the one. So the way I'm looking at this is it'll probably be a set piece fest. Arsenal will probably rely on them pretty heavily, and I think it'll kind of honestly be a struggle to play through Everton, even though Everton has been kind of underperforming, or kind of been around that relegation zone, and it's kind of a different Everton team. I don't know if you feel this way, like we obviously have a love fest on Everton on Wondergoal because of Michael, but they don't feel like the Everton that's drastically underperforming that we can just bet on every single week. They kind of just feel like the Everton that's going to finish in 16th place, and that's probably where they should be. So yeah, for me, I'm on Arsenal under 20 and a half shots. But what do you think for this one?
Sticking with set pieces, I've ended on a Saliba shot at evens. So kind
Yep.
of going against you, but I think we can sneak in a Saliba shot for your
Yep.
unders.
Oh yeah.
Because Gabriel probably going to miss out. BJ obviously missed Monaco, missed the last couple of games. So this bet really, this selection is if Gabriel doesn't play. So if Saliba's the main man, if Gabriel's out, then Saliba becomes Arsenal's primary threat, really, from corners and set pieces. And last weekend, he scored in 2 Premier League games on the bounce. Last weekend, you could have got him at 18-1 to score anytime. I wasn't on it, unfortunately, but I saw it on social media. This weekend, he's 11-1. I'm not surprised. Like, obviously, if you score 2 games in a row, your goal score prices are going to shorten. If you look at Gabriel, he scored from 3 set pieces in the Premier League this season, 1 in Europe. Saliba's scored twice in back-to-back games. So added together, that's 5 of 15 matches where either Saliba or Gabriel have scored for Arsenal via a well-drilled dead ball situation. So 5 of 15, what, that 33% strike rate.
Yep.
And if we're going to take just a shot, yeah, if you're not sold on a goal score angle and you end up with just a shot at evens, I think that's a great price. You can tag on Arsenal to win alongside that. That gets it up to about 240 or plus 140. The volume of shots Gabriel has taken this season is 14 shots across 13 games. So there were only 3 fixtures this season where Gabriel has failed to have a shot. So that suggests Arsenal set pieces are accurate and consistently designed to locate and profit from one of their big boys, one of the central defenders. Obviously, Havertz is in the mix too. You got Calafiori when he's fit. He's a big boy. He's always kind of there and amongst it. Saliba has had 3 attempts in his last 2 games, but before that, he hadn't had a shot all season. So he's only had 3 shots all season. But I don't think it's any coincidence that that coincides with Gabriel not being in the team. And if you dig into the data, Arsenal has 2.60 shots per 90 in the 6-yard box. That's the highest total in the Premier League, and that's obviously primarily born from set pieces. The Gunners have also taken 66 shots from set pieces in just 15 games. So all we're after is is Saliba to have any kind of shot, rosed, blocked. It could be as feeble as you like. It could go out for a throw. Or maybe not go out for a throw, and they probably wouldn't give that. But it could be any kind of shot. And to get evens on that for set piece FC, I think it's a good angle. I really do. That stood
Yes.
out for me over everything.
So, I love what Arsenal is doing with their set pieces as well, even with Gabriel out. If you ever watch, they overload 6 guys on the back post. And they do a couple different things. They don't just sit back there. They'll do a routine where all those six guys will just run across the face of the box, and most teams are zonal marking them. So it's very
Yeah.
hard to pick up all those guys as you're coming across and scrambling and trying to find guys. And because Arsenal's so good at winning those aerial duels, Saliba, as we've seen the last few matches, is the guy who finds himself right in the middle of everything, right? Like he scored the goal against United because they did a back post overload and they held four guys back there. They screened and they got was it? I think it might have been Party or somebody. I can't remember who it was on the back post that headed it across and Saliba put it in. I think it was his backside. And then the same kind of thing happened against Fulham, where they had a back post overload. They got to Havertz, and he's the one who put it centrally, and Saliba was just standing there in the middle. So I love that. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I don't. What is his anytime goal score price at right now? Because that also might be
It
uh,
was
a little
11 to
interesting.
1
11 to
on the
1. That's
last
not
night.
bad, honestly.
It's not
Um,
bad.
that's not bad. I might end up on that as well. Just for like, like zero point 0.2 units or something like that, just for fun. Um, but yeah, by the way, I love set piece FC. It's making the entire media world crazy, Sam. If
Mm.
we're being honest, right? People are going nuts over Arsenal set pieces, saying, "Oh, this isn't sustainable. They can't keep doing it. It's ruining the game and everything." I love it. I'm loving it, every minute of it. Um, so yeah, that'll do it for Arsenal and Everton. Let's move on to league leaders Liverpool against Fulham. Liverpool is sitting at minus 334. Fulham 7-1. Draws at 5-1. Total is about 3.25. You can get under 3.5 at minus 150 at Bet365 or under three at about plus 110-ish in that range. Um, we're kind of on the same thing here, which is the under, but I'll let you go first here.
Yeah, so for me, Liverpool versus Fulham on paper, like it sounds like an overs game, doesn't it? Really, like there's
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
fixtures where you look at and automatically I'm like, yeah, that'll go overs. What's the line? The line here is 3.25. Two teams who love to attack are the Marco Silva and Arnie Slot and Klopp previously, obviously, and they're efficient in doing so, but that isn't an easy task for an away team at Anfield. And we've seen that over the years, and especially under Slot this season, they've only conceded 3 goals in 7 home games. So a pretty tough nut to crack. And 4 or more goals hasn't landed once at Anfield. Excuse me, under Arnie Slot in the Premier League this season. And only 3 of 14 Liverpool games have witnessed 4 or more goals in the Premier League. So interestingly as well, Fulham, only one away date has gone over 3.5 goals. So the data is there to suggest that this might not be full of goals. And that one Fulham away day was that 3-2 against Manchester City,
Yeah.
where if Adama Traore could finish, then they would have actually won that pretty comfortably. But I don't think we're going to see Liverpool be as aggressive as City were on that day. Definitely not. We won't see the high line be as aggressive as City's was. And I would expect Liverpool to be cautious in allowing space in behind for Traore, Iwobi, etc. to run into. And I'd expect them to be cautious in terms of allowing transitional opportunities, which is where Fulham operate quite well. And obviously, Liverpool played in Europe on Tuesday in Girona. Um, After their European commitments this season, Liverpool have played a 3-0 against Bournemouth, 1-0 away at Palace, 2-2 against Arsenal, which is the outlier. 2-0 at home to Villa and 2-0 win over City. So it's difficult to gauge whether Europe has had much of an impact, but that's 4 out of 5 games that have gone unders so far after European commitments, which is a fairly, it's an okay sample size. So for me, BJ, yeah, this is something I'll probably keep taking as long as we're getting the high goal lines in
Yeah.
Liverpool games. Like it will lose every once in a while, but under Slot, this is a different Liverpool. Like that heavy metal football has left them, and we're left with a much more subdued, controlled performances in comparison. And yeah, so no longer is the case of Liverpool needing to outscore teams to win games, and under 3.25 at minus 112. I think it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on under 3.5 at minus 140. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of the same thing we've been talking about. What's interesting is when Liverpool went to Girona on Tuesday, Girona in past, in the year past, they were a very aggressive, high pressing team, but they came with the aim of playing a 4-4-2 low block. And they were just like deny space through the middle, Let's just try to be solid defensively and just try to keep Liverpool out. And they actually did a pretty decent job of doing that. I know in the end it says Liverpool created 1.8 expected goals, but most of that was Mo Salah's penalty. If you take away that penalty, Liverpool had one expected goal. And if you look at all of their shot numbers, only they had two shots that had an XG rating of 0.2. Outside of that, nothing higher. So Girona did a great job of limiting that space to the middle.
Mhm.
And Fulham is a much better team at doing that. Fulham has plays a couple different. They're typically a 4-4-2 team as well. You saw against Arsenal, they dropped into a back five sometimes because Arsenal kept getting five guys, overloaded on the back line and they didn't want to get overloaded. And what happened happens is typically with that is if Arsenal wants to get the ball out wide, well, if they can get 2v1s out wide, they could have killed Fulham. So Marco Silva was like, we need to get five guys on the back line and we need to make sure that we're not getting overloaded in those type of scenarios. But so Fulham this season, stat I love, final third to box entry conversion rate. They are number one in the Premier League. They are the best team at keeping teams out of their penalty area. But, even against Arsenal, you'll see in the end, okay, well, Arsenal created, 2 point, a little over two expected goals. Like they must have created a lot of chances. 1.73 of that was off of set pieces. Arsenal created 0.29 expected goals from open play. Uh, Fulham this season is their top five in terms of big scoring chances allowed. They are third in box entries allowed. And also, they're very good. Even though they didn't show it against Arsenal, they are a good set piece defense as well. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Liverpool to actually play through it here. And what's different about Liverpool is, yeah, you said it's not heavy metal football. Um, their press is, I don't want to call it like a token press of like, hey, let's just try and press and see if we can win the ball, but let's make sure we maintain our defensive structure. That's kind of what it feels like, of just like, hey, we're just kind of pressing to just like, maybe we'll get a turnover, but if not, we're going to maintain our structure. Which means that, you know, Slot criticized them after the Girona match, saying their press was terrible and they need to improve on it. Uh, And what was happening is Girona was consistently getting a 7v4 through the first and second phase of buildup. But I invite people to go look at the pass map from that game. It's all just Girona passes in their own final third. Like they did absolutely nothing. They had a couple transition breaks, which is great, but they really did nothing. And Fulham against Arsenal, I know they scored. They took two shots for the entire match. So if Arsenal was able to control Fulham the way, Liverpool should be able to do the same. So yeah, I'm with you. I like under 3.5 here. Yeah, just keep taking them until I guess the market kind of keeps correcting them. I wonder, Sam, if we're going to get to a point where uh like midway through the season, if these totals start coming down into what I call now the Arsenal range of like 2.5, right? Like the Arsenal Everton match is at 2.5 minus 150. I wonder if we're going to get Liverpool matches in that realm as we get deeper into the season, because the market is like they're correcting, but they're also like very slowly correcting to it, right? Like we started off as just like it was just straight 3.5 all the time. Now we're getting in, like we said, 3.25s. We're getting a lot of threes. I think we might be venturing down into that 2.5 range. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I think it will take a little while yet
Yeah.
because equally, I think if we start popping down to 2.5, I think people will be very interested in that.
Yeah.
And also, I think whilst in the cup competitions and in Europe, whilst Liverpool keep going above 3.5, beat obviously by Leverkusen 4-0, etc. I think that will have a bit of an impact on the market too. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I hope we can keep getting 3.25 for
Yeah.
I don't know into
Whole
January or
season.
something. That would be nice. Yeah, that'll be
A whole
very nice.
season would be great. All right. Let's move on to Newcastle and Leicester. This is in the 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. window kickoff. Newcastle continues to take money. They are minus 335. Leicester's plus 750. The draw is at 5-1. Total is about three in that range as well. I'll be honest, I don't really have anything. Makes me sick to my stomach, but like I have a little bit of value on Leicester, but like they have nobody available in their midfield,
Mm.
so it's kind of a situation where I'm like, I think I just have to pass. But you actually do like something for this match.
Yeah, I'm not brave enough to take Leicester on, and it's maybe a little bit more of a lean. Like I don't think I'll be taking this with my own money, but I've ended up at both teams to score at minus 120.
Yep.
Um, So really, for a whole host of Premier League clubs, like leaking goals is a real issue, and these two fall into that category at the minute. Leicester even more so; they've conceded 30 goals this season, so that's 2 goals conceded per 90. I think they play 15 games. Newcastle have let in 21 goals so far this campaign, with their match totals hitting around 2.6, and the Foxes, their match totals around 3.4. So Leicester have actually only kept 1 clean sheet in 15 games. Newcastle have kept 3 clean sheets in 15 fixtures. So to see -120 about both teams to score, it was a bit of a standout price. And you can be a bit bolder and tag on Newcastle win or even a Leicester win. Newcastle win gets you up to +160. But looking at both teams to score on the nose, it's landed in 13 of Leicester's 15 matches this season. And one thing about this Leicester side, and I've said it so many times on the Bet and Expert podcast and Wondergo, is they don't know when they were beaten. Like that fight and desire to toil until the final whistle. It's such a positive trait to hold as a team that will likely be scrapping for relegation. If you look at Brighton last weekend, they were 2-0 down in the 85th minute. That finished 2-2. They've popped up with late winners and equalisers multiple times this season. And they've rescued 4 points from losing positions away from home this season, and only 3 teams can boast more than that. So, with both teams to score, I suppose the primary concern here has to fall on Leicester, right? Because if Leicester can score, that will probably clinch the both teams to score win, because odds are that Newcastle will score. Look at Newcastle to score on Saturday is -2,000.
Yeah.
So that that shows where the
Yeah.
bookmakers thinking it's going.
Right.
And yeah, under new management in Van Nistelrooy, and maybe performance levels might be starting to improve. And with Buonanotte back in the side, he missed last game because Brighton are obviously his parent club. I think both teams to score might be the way. And I'll leave you
Yeah.
with this start I've got. Leicester have failed to score just once in 15 Premier League games. No other team has a better record than that, with over a quarter of the season gone. And I did not think I'd be saying that nearly
Yeah.
midway through December. So both teams to
Yeah.
score -120.
Well, yeah, here's the other thing. It's just like Newcastle's defense is not good at all.
No, it's
They
not.
are the problem is now I say this all the time is that their center back pairing is very slow. You know, Shar and Dan Burn are too, so if they decide to play, if they decide to press high or play some type of high line, you can play in behind them, as we saw what Brentford did to them multiple times. So who's to say that Leicester can't do the same? I mean, Leicester did that to West Ham when they got a lead. They just kept playing balls in behind over and over again and ended up creating. I mean, Leicester has created over one expected goal in 4 straight matches, right? So, and the thing about it is the match against Brighton, that's a we'll get to Brighton in a little bit, but that's the second time Brighton's done that this season. They
Mhm.
did it against Wolves earlier this season too, where they were up 2 goals, they were cruising, everything looks great, and then just boom, it just happens to them. So yeah, I might actually be on both teams to score with you. I mean, listen, I keep criticizing this Jamie Vardy, Jordan Ayew, up top pairing, but they keep scoring, so I guess I can't really criticize it that much, Sam. So,
Yeah, look, I
uh,
called him out as well, Jamie Vardy, on our season preview. I said there's no way
yeah.
you can be going into a Premier League season with a 37-year-old Jamie Vardy leading the attack, and he's just made me look like an absolute fool. So fair play
Hey,
to him.
by the way, for everybody out there, Chelsea has already scored 2 goals in the first 20 minutes in Astana. Mark Gay, no, Guy, is that how you pronounce it? The young striker from Barcelona that they got. Pedro Neto's playing in this match, Sam, which I find
Is he playing? I
interesting.
thought he was. I thought he was missing.
Yeah, he's playing right wing. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of, you know what's also funny? Speaking of Leicester, I totally forgot that Chelsea spent $40 million on Dewsbury Hall because he's playing in this
Yeah,
match, and he's had like this is like one of the first matches he's ever played this season. So,
yeah,
um,
it's crazy,
that's
crazy money.
crazy. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's basically just a bunch of academy players on the bench as well. They didn't
Well,
they didn't
you
they didn't
can.
send Cole Palmer to Kazakhstan. They didn't send Madueke or Fernandez. They left them in London. So, which is
Yeah,
probably
we see all the variables that we mentioned earlier. Minus 15, the 8 hour
yeah.
flight, etc. The key variable is that Astana are clearly hopeless. So
Yeah.
that's probably
Clearly they're not that
probably
good.
what It's probably what we should have focused on, like more than anything. But yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
I mean, listen, I fall into that all the time too, where it's just like, oh my gosh, like the academy's
Yeah,
going, I did it all the time when, when back in the day when Russia was still, in these UEFA competitions, I would always make that case of just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so cold in Moscow or in
yeah, yeah.
St. Petersburg or whatever. And then they would just these good teams would just annihilate them.
Well, I've put a tweet out basically warning people not to bet on Chelsea. So if they now win like 4-5-0, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
looking
that's
a bit
okay.
daft. So hopefully they keep it at 2-0.
Yeah, hopefully
We'll see.
it's gonna be a long match for I'm assuming an Astana
Yeah,
team that came with the approach of like let's just sit deep in this low
sit
block and
in.
counter,
Yeah,
and now we're down 2-0 and it's like oh crap we got to come out and press this team. All right, let's move on to relegation six pointer Wolves and Ipswich. Gary O'Neil still in charge. I thought we had El Sakiko on Monday. I bought into Sam. By the way, I bought into the because clearly the West Ham dressing room was unhappy after they got annihilated by Arsenal. I think it was after that match. And it all came out that like they basically wanted Lopetegui gone. I bought into the fact that maybe they would not throw the match, but maybe just maybe not try as hard and maybe get the manager sacked. But that didn't happen. They won. Albeit, Wolves did win the expected goals battle in that match, and I didn't think they were horrible. But Wolves is minus 110 here. Ipswich is plus 280. Draw is at plus 280. Totals at over 2.5 is at minus 138. I think the line's right. I've said a lot of bad things about Ipswich over the years on one this year on Wonder Goal and here. I think they're improving, but they definitely don't have the
mm.
squad to compete with the talent level in the Premier League. But this is one of the matches they would need if they're gonna stave off relegation. And I just don't
And
want to lay. I don't want to lay minus 110 with Wolves at home. I'll be flat honest with you. They just concede. They concede so many needless goals, and that just terrifies me. So I'm passing with it. But do you have anything?
I don't. This one and the Palace game I've really struggled for this
Yeah.
week. And this is a game as well. Like there's a lot of pressure on this game. The Wolves powers that be have come out and basically said like he's got Ipswich. He can have the Ipswich game, Gary O'Neill. So this
Yeah.
could be, do or die for him. And I think the main thing, BJ, is like I just really don't trust either team defensively.
Yeah.
Like Ipswich are capable in forward areas in terms of finishers like Delap and um what's he called? Schmodics. Like they
Yeah.
can score goals if they get the chances. So that's a concern if you're getting on Wolves at minus money. Um, the lean I had was maybe goals. Ipswich look a bit big at the prices. Wolves at minus money. It feels like maybe a little leap of faith that things are going to turn. And like I said, I can't trust that defense. They've conceded 38 goals in 15 games, and I know their schedule has been drastic to start the season, but I think that's enough for me to swerve them and swerve the game and maybe not take a bet here. But if I was going to pick
Yeah.
anything, it'd be overs, I think. But
Yeah.
2.75, that also, that line feels about right too. So
Yeah.
yeah, no bet.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Ipswich is second to last in big scoring chances allowed, but the flip side is they have created the fewest of anybody. So like if you're allowing the most and creating the fewest, you're not going to survive very long in the Premier League. So yeah, in terms of what, before I do this, I was going to pull up the relegation odds really quick. And for those who have not subscribed to my Substack, every week you're going to get Premier League simulations that I put out and compare to the market, so you can hopefully find some value. But I was just going to quickly look at the relegation odds to see where we're at. Ipswich is 2-5, so minus 250, and Wolves is plus 110. I'm pretty sure I had that simulated about right around where it should be, except for Ipswich, which you know people know I have loads of money on Ipswich to be relegated already, so I don't need to put more money into that. But if you're looking to parlay something, Ipswich minus 250 to be relegated, I still have quite a bit of value on that. Um, Southampton, unfortunately, are going down. Everton 3-1. I don't like to see that. But yeah, in any case, relegation six pointer, huge match for both teams. We'll see if
Big
Gary O'Neil
match.
survives this one. But yeah, all right, let's move on to Midlands Derby. Forest and Aston Villa. Uh, Forest, it appears that the market is starting to correct on them because they are plus 160. The draw is at plus 240, and Aston Villa is at plus 170. Total is at minus two and a or 2.5 minus 110 both ways. I think this line is right. I like Forest a lot, and I'm sure, like you, Sam, I've been
Mhm.
betting on them all consistently, pretty much every single match this season. Does not feel like a case to like for Forest to be a pick 'em at home because I think Villa is actually very good. I think Unai Emery, this is a story with Unai Emery, right? If you're somebody who's just like tell me about Aston Villa. It's like, okay, if they're playing a team that, is really solid defensively, they might struggle a little bit. If they're playing a team that tries to press them at all, unless that team is incredibly elite, they will play through them and they will cause a lot of problems. The one thing that I was thinking about though, Sam, with this one, and not steering me towards betting on Villa, but the first goal that United got against Forest, Forest plays that 4-2-4 mid block. Um, it was Bruno Fernandes. I can't remember who it was. I mean, Bruno Fernandes or whoever. One of the forwards dropped deep right in the half space, and he brought Murillo with him. And they basically used the concept of, ping pass and then use the vacated space to run into, and that's how they created their chance. Villa does that a lot. Like that, Ollie Watkins is a huge, whether it's Ollie Watkins or Duran up top, they do that all the time, where they will drop deep in that half space, take the vacated space, and they'll just make runs in behind. That's one of the main things that Unai Emery does with his build-up, apart from, the wide triangles trying to get the ball centrally. So, but you know, I think it's going to be a struggle for Villa to create chances against this Forest defensive block. It's too good. It's just the stats behind it. I keep track of big scoring chances, Sam, which I define as a chance of a 0.35 XG rating or higher. Forest has allowed four this season. Four big scoring chances at all.
It's nothing, is it?
Two of them came against City, to be fair to them. But and this is another thing. It's just like they are allowing the most final third entries of anybody, but they're not allowing anybody to consistently get in their penalty area. So
Mm.
that's the worry here for Villa, right? Is like how can they break down this low defensive block and can they defend in transition? So for me, I think the total's right. I think the line is right, but do you see anything here?
Not really. I don't have
Yeah.
a bet in this, as boring as it is. I
Yeah.
think Villa on the back of European commitments against Forest at home, I think that's a really evenly matched game.
Yeah.
I have been betting against the schedule for about a month really. I'll bang on about it all the time on the Betting Expert pod. They're probably sick of that as well. The amount of games that these lads are playing following the international break in November, I think maybe it's been like 20 days or something. I think they've played 6 games, and that's following players flying around the world, playing games in Africa, South America, etc. Like they're just playing a ridiculous amount of games. So for Villa, after European commitments, it makes me lean towards Forest. Draw no bet at maybe minus 110 if I had to take something. Not
Yeah.
going to take a bet, but Forest, look, they're at home, especially at the City Ground. They're tough tackling, there in your face, and they're a pretty tidy outfit now. And I wouldn't be back in Villa. If either was on a plus handicap, either Forest or Villa, that's probably the way I'd go. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's the lines are probably about right.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's probably about right. For everybody out there, can someone put something in the chat to make sure it's actually working? I saw the chat start out a little bit on hot, and then nobody's put anything in there, and that's fine if you haven't put anything in there. I just want to make sure it's working. So, yeah, because we'll
Maybe
obviously
we've just bored the life out of
maybe we
people, and
have, and that's fine. If
they're
we've
like, you
bored
know
the
what?
life out of you, that's fine. I just want to make sure it's working, so you aren't asking a ton of questions, and I'm just like ignoring you, because
I
that's
have
not what I want to do.
I have that effect on people. My missus
Oh,
would
that's
tell you
okay.
that.
I know I do too.
It
But
happens regularly. So
I'm sitting here and I'm just like, man, nobody has put anything in the chat since the beginning. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just way off here. Maybe I'll just reload my screen here and maybe it'll all pop up. Chat test. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we have just bored the crap out of people. That's totally fine though. Right. Okay, let's move on to we'll just run through this quick. Brighton and Palace. We don't really have anything for this match.
no.
If I were to play anything, I would take a shot on Palace on the money line, maybe. Brighton playing that high line. Villa or Palace obviously has guys who can play in behind. You know, I really like what Glasner's doing, Sam, though, with bringing Ishmael Sarr in to play the Michael Elise role as the dueling number 10s with Eze.
Mm.
Like, I think that has the potential for like to be really, really good as we go forward in the future. But yeah, I would love a better price on Palace. I really would, honestly. But it's just
It's
not there.
yeah, it's funny you should say that because if I was to have a stab at anything, it would probably be Brighton at home, just
Okay.
simply because I think they're a much, much better team when they're at it and when they're firing, which they're not at the minute. And this is you may not like, anyone in listening from America, you might not know this is a derby,
It
not
is.
a local derby, more of a sporting rivalry. I don't think I shouldn't have called it a derby. It's definitely not a derby. It's some kind of rivalry, and they really don't like each other. So I think that should be factored in
Yep.
to your bets as well. I've yeah, not got a bet, but it would be Brighton. I think if I had
Now,
to.
correct me if I'm wrong, because Leboff back in the day, because he loves this stuff, the history behind like something like this. Wasn't it because someone took a dump on somebody's bus or something like that? I can't remember, and it like pissed somebody off or a locker room. I can't remember. Let me look it up really quick as we're going. Well, I'll look it up
I
as we're talking about the next match. But I'm pretty sure that that might have been the reason why it started. Because obviously, again, I know that I think Crystal Palace is the closest team to Brighton, at least in London, right? I don't know if they're necessarily the M23
maybe.
motorway. Yeah.
Yeah, you often hear it called like the M23 Derby, which is just a
M23.
bit ridiculous. I've never heard someone shitting on a bus, but I really hope it's true. Really, really hope that's true because that's brilliant.
I feel like I vividly remember Michael
And
telling me
then
that.
if that's happened, I mean, the sporting rivalry is kind of
Yeah.
justified, right? I mean, you can't be taking
Yeah, oh, you
a
can't.
shit
Yeah,
on someone's
exactly. Yeah,
bus,
that's
really.
that'd be
Like
hilarious
that's
if it started.
it's
I'm
not
gonna
really
I'm gonna
a
look
done
this
thing.
up. I'm gonna look this up after we're done here, and I'll post it on Twitter if I can find anything
Please do.
regarding that. Because yeah, that's just I'm gonna look through this wiki. I'm on Wikipedia right now. I'll look through this Wikipedia page and I'll figure it out. But yeah, M23 Derby. All right, let's move on to yeah, a 2 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. right? British
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Chelsea and Brentford. This is a really fun one. Chelsea, as we already mentioned, is currently playing in Kazakhstan with a bunch of academy players. But they're minus 300. Brentford is plus 650. The draw is 5-1. Total is set at about 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 minus 110 both ways. Um, I'll let you go first, Sam. What do you think here? I think this is one of the more fun matches of the weekend.
It is. I was just going to say it's still 2-0 and it's 34 minutes gone.
Okay.
So hopefully they can hang on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So initially, straight away, I thought goals. And I was looking at Chelsea win, both teams to score, both teams to score and overs. But I'm a touch hesitant because obviously it's well publicized now. I mean, we all know about it of Brentford's away form this season compared to their home form. It's contrasting. It's night and day really. It's pretty drastic. But would you expect them to score at Chelsea? Probably in Embuemo and Vissa, they've got a deadly double act up top, and Kevin Shadin now as well. He can't stop scoring, so that's handy to have in forward areas when traveling away from home, when maybe in a sticky patch away from home. Brentford have actually only scored 5 goals in 7 away games this season. So if you compare that to the 24 goals they've scored in 8 home matches, it's a little unnerving for me to be taking on a both teams to score bet. It's a little bit off-putting. So instead, I've opted for a Chelsea to win and Chelsea most corners, which is a bit of a different angle, not one I usually take. Chelsea average 5.86 corners for at Stamford Bridge, whereas Brentford average 3.57 away from home. That is the second fewest of any Premier League club, just above Wolves. But the standout stat for me, and it's the reason I've taken the bet, and I'm going to take it with my own money, is Brentford's conceded average away from home across 7 games. Their average 7 games, fairly big sample size. They're averaging 10 corners conceded per 90, which is massive. And it is by far the worst return in the division away from home. So comparatively, Chelsea are 7th best in terms of corners for averages at home. So middling, really. But yeah, they're at 5.86 corners for average at home, which is okay. But compared to the Brentford numbers, it's a bit of a mismatch, and it can drag a pro Chelsea same game parlay angle to a decent price without really having to rely on any kind of input from Brentford. So I like the thought of that. So Chelsea win in most corners, that comes out at -139.
I like that a lot because, like, obviously all the stats that you mentioned, but Chelsea is obviously going to be the ones sustaining pressure in this match, and they're going to be the ones that are going to pin Brentford inside their own final third. Brentford is allowing the second most final third entries and the second most box entries of anyone in the Premier League right now. Chelsea's the number one offensive team now in terms of non-penalty expected goals after their huge match against Tottenham over the weekend. So yeah, I like that a lot. I went with both teams to score in over 2.5, which you can find. I found a -135 last night. I don't know if it's still there. But Brentford is obviously a different team away from home than they are at home. They have the biggest, most drastic expected goal splits of anybody right now. +7 expected goal differential at the G Tech, -8.6 away from home. And they haven't created a lot of chances away from home. To be fair to Brentford, though, it's been very funny. If you ever look at their schedule, Sam, they've played all of their favorable games at home and all of their most difficult tests away from home. So it kind of continues here, having to travel to Chelsea. But the one thing with Chelsea is they are a very aggressive pressing team, and they will play a high line. That's what Maresca wants them to do. Well, Brentford, as I've said many times, is they are a team that's trying to build out of the back more often. But what often happens, and what happened against Newcastle, especially if you go watch the first goal, is they'll try to build out of the back, and then when they receive the pressure, they have the option of playing that direct long ball over the top. And like you mentioned with Wissa and Mbuemo, those are two incredibly dangerous guys who can play in behind and cause a lot of problems. Chelsea's defense is okay. I wouldn't say that they're, lighting the world on fire. They do a great job of defending crosses, which is, big here, and they're, fairly decent at defending set pieces, but they are seventh in non-penalty expected goals allowed, and even ninth in passes per defensive action. So I think we've seen Chelsea when they play bigger teams, they'll sit in that 4-2-4 mid block, and they'll do a really good job of denying space to the middle. If you go watch their match against Arsenal, they did a great job of that. They pressed Tottenham high and they caused them some problems. Really, the only two goals that Tottenham scored were Mark Cucurella slipping early on, but again, in the end, Tottenham did create 2.7 expected goals or somewhere around there. So I like Brentford here to at least get on the board, but yeah, I think Chelsea is going to run away with this one. I wouldn't, I know based on my projections, is I'm pretty sure I have a little bit of value on Brentford. I don't really want to take them away from home. They're just a much different team away from home. So, you know, I mean, unfortunately, how this game is played, Sam, and you know this is, Brentford, excuse me, Brentford +1.5 is sitting about even money right now.
Yeah.
There could be a situation where we get to Sunday and the Brentford Asian handicap line is 2, and I have to sit there and I have to say, I have to take a deep sigh and I have to go, gosh, this is way too high. I have to take
Yeah.
Brentford. But yeah, both teams scoring over 2.5 for me is what it is for Brentford. I'm pretty sure. Let me just look it up real quick. I feel like that exact bet has hit in like every Brentford match this year. Let's see,
Definitely at home.
all but three, all but three Brentford matches in the Premier League. We've had both teams to score in over 2.5 goals. The only other matches it was Everton, which there was a red card at halftime. They had a 1-1 draw with West Ham. That was a very boring match, and then they lost 2-0 to Liverpool. So
Mhm.
other than that, that bet is hit in pretty much every Brentford match so far this season. So that's where I'm going with this one. But yeah, I really like your bet as well. I think that Chelsea's obviously going to sustain pressure and get a lot of corners. So if you really like them to win, that's a great way to look at it. So
Mhm.
excuse me. Another two 7 p.m. British time kickoffs. Southampton and Tottenham. Southampton is +320. Tottenham is -138. The draw is at +330. Total is very high. I think this might be the highest total we've seen this season, right? Over 3.5 is -125. I'm trying to think of a total that maybe I've seen higher than that. But my point is that I think they've priced us out of the over here, which I really would have loved to take. So for me, Like I was looking at Tottenham team total over 2.5 potentially. I do have value on
Mhm.
Tottenham's money line, which I probably will end up playing, honestly, now that they have Solanke and Van de Ven back in the lineup. But I'll
Is
let
Van
you
der
go.
Ven available?
Is he
He is.
available? I'm not sure. Hang on, let me double
Oh, I'm
check.
not sure. I
I'm not
think
sure.
I think both him and Romero got injured against
Let me,
Chelsea.
okay, let me double check
So
this.
I'm
Yeah, there
I'm
he
not
is. Yeah,
100%.
he's out.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Wow,
And
I
Ben
forgot about that.
Davies as
Oh
well.
God, maybe I don't want to take. And Ben Davies out too. Great. Never mind. So scratch what I just said. Because gosh, who are they going to play? Are they going to play Archie Gray at center back? What are they going to do?
Mate, I have no idea, but
Oh my
it
gosh.
is yeah, it's concerning, and it just leads me to believe that over 3.5 is probably
Yeah.
gonna land. I've probably stupidly,
Maybe just go four. Just go
well,
four at
yeah,
plus money and just
maybe I just can't see how there isn't goals here. Like
yeah.
I've taken, well, I'm gonna take Tottenham win and both teams to score at 2.6.
Okay.
So I think there's going to be goals. Really, just as a more general view on the game, I think Tottenham will just outscore Southampton. Like, I think Tottenham will concede. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to have it all their own way. I think they're going to struggle, but in the end, I just think they're going to outscore them. And I've got a few stats down here, and it's no coincidence really that in terms of the absentees, that in Spurs' first 11 Premier League games this season, Tottenham faced an average of just 9.6 shots and 3.4 shots on target per game. In their last four matches, they faced 18.8 shots and 6.8 shots on target per game. So literally both has doubled in the last four games. And yeah, this is a Tottenham side now in its current shape that teams are getting joy from, and that Southampton at home, I'm pretty certain will get joy from. Spurs are playing tonight at Ibrox away in the Europa League, which will be tough for them. Rangers this season in Europe, they've been great. Coasted past Nice in France last time out in front of that, or away from home, and now in front of an Ibrox crowd. Like Tottenham are really in for a game tonight, so there's probably going to be a bit of fatigue in the legs too. I do think Southampton are going to get joy, but regardless, in the Premier League, I think you'd expect a response. Because Ange is coming under scrutiny now. Like genuine questions are being asked about whether he's the right man to lead this club forward. And on the back of recent results, you know, there is a question to be asked. And I find this situation quite an interesting one here, BJ, because obviously he's a good manager, clearly commands respect in the dressing room, and it feels like a harmonious one at that. It feels like players are very much on board with him and probably
Yep.
will be wherever he goes in the future. Because of his personality and what he's like as a man manager, I think they're going to fight for him. So we won't see them down tools. So I would expect a Tottenham response here, and I think they'll start fast, regardless of playing in Europe on Thursday. That's, it's a hallmark of an Ange Postecoglou side as it is, starting fast and getting at their opponents. But post Chelsea defeat, I see Spurs winning it. They need a response for the manager, and I think they'll get it. So yeah, in the end, I think Southampton will score. I think they'll have some joy, and hopefully it's not enough. It was not as much joy as Tottenham seeing Tottenham run out winners at a pretty big price, really, plus 160.
Yeah, I think I might have to take over 3.5 here. I think I might have to just do it and just swallow the number because I have 4.2 goals projected for this match. And sometimes I look at that number and I say, am I wrong here? What's going on? But given the way and the situation that it's in, I'm pretty sure that number is, I believe it at least is, correct. And yeah, it's just the thing is Southampton is going to continue to try to build on the back. And I actually think they might actually be able to have some success here against Tottenham. If you watch what Chelsea was able to do, Chelsea was just dropping Enzo Fernandez into the half space and nobody was following him into it. So they just consistently were just getting him the ball. It was either him or Cole Palmer. And then they were just wrecking Tottenham right through the middle. And Tottenham's press was just not that good. So if Tottenham's press is not that good away from here from home, even though they are number one in passes per defensive action, they're 13th in non-penalty expected goals allowed. And here's the kind of stat that is really worrying for Tottenham, Sam, is like they're allowing the third fewest final third entries of anybody, which is great, right? but they are 19th in final third to box entry conversion rate. So what that tells me is like, okay, if you're going to play a lot of teams, well, if you're going to press and a lot of teams are going to get transition breaks against you, then you're doing a horrific job of defending in transition. And obviously they've had injuries throughout the season, but for Ange, personally, I think it'd be a mistake to fire him in the middle of the season. I think
Yeah.
he should go to the end of the season. I think that, you know, what you saw at the beginning of last season, the peak of what it could be with everybody healthy, like it can be huge. Like it can be like title winning, like peak, but the floor is obviously lower because of the style of play. So you're just, it's how conservative do you want to be, right? You play the way Ange does, you have one of the highest ceilings in the Premier League, but your floor also lowers when you're like we saw against Chelsea when you're up 2-0 and you continue to press and go crazy, right? So that's just kind of the risk reward, and I know Tottenham fans actually love it. Like I think they love, from the ones I've gathered, and there's not many people that want Ange gone. Like they actually love the way that they play. I think they really hated the way they played under Mourinho and Conte, even though they were pretty good. But I think they just honestly enjoy the style of play. So if everybody's healthy, like yeah, Tottenham can be good. But in this type of match, Russell Martin, I mean, oh boy.
It's
He's
it's
he's doing
probably
some different things, I think, that are helping. At least he's like, trying to play more of a 5-4-1, like low defensive block against better teams and not just pressing recklessly like they were in the beginning of the season. The offense has been pretty good for Southampton. Like, give them credit there. Like they've been creating chances at least. I was just
yeah,
gonna pull
it's
up.
better, definitely.
It's done. Yeah, I think what it's done is just like he's I think the build-up's been good. If you have Tyler Dibbling and Flynn Downs in there, it obviously is a pretty decent build-up structure. They were not good against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, obviously scored early and they kind of just sat in, and Southampton really couldn't break them in transition. But this is a much different opponent. It's kind of be honestly, Sam, this match. I know Dibbling and Flynn Downs weren't available for it, but this match feels fairly similar to how the Chelsea 5-1 match went in the midweek, honestly. So,
Is
um,
Dibbling available for this?
is he? Is he not?
I'm not. No, I have no idea. I was
Okay.
just saying
I know he was
because
suspended for the match against Chelsea. I didn't know if he got hurt against. Yeah, it looks like he's available.
I
Um,
think he's key. He is
he is very key. He's very good.
really he'll be in the Premier League next season,
Oh yeah.
regardless of what happens to Southampton. He's really good. It's one of
Yep.
those players, like we'll get him onto him in a minute, but like Somerville for West Ham, just
Yep.
can pick the ball up and drag your team up the pitch. He's really, really important. And one thing probably should point out is obviously well, everyone should know um, Russell Martin's kind of philosophy, the way he approaches games, building from the back, etc. Saints are playing their third choice goalkeeper at the minute. I think it's
Yep.
Lumley, his name is, and
Lumley.
he is a third choice goalkeeper. So
Yeah, he is.
I'm not
He's
going to
not
dig him
good.
out, but he is. So you bring someone like that into the Premier League, and you're asking him to get on the ball, dish it out, kind of evade, Premier League presses. It's really difficult. And this Tottenham team, I think they're going to get some joy from that. So
Yeah.
in terms of goals, BJ, yeah, that 3.5 line, honestly, I wouldn't put anyone off it.
Well, it came down. So it was about I think it was 1.75 and it's come down to 1.8, which, American odds would be about minus 133 and it's come down to minus 125. So that coming down with Van de Ven and Romero both out. I mean, we've seen this song and dance many times, same with Tottenham. I mean, we did it for, almost, feels like half of the season last year and how bad Tottenham were defensively. And Ange
Yeah,
isn't he's not gonna change. And listen, that's commendable and that's wonderful. But at the same time, like you have to have some versatility to, you know, to how you're playing, given the squad that you have, right? Like at some point, you have to say, all right, maybe we can't press as high and as aggressively as we want to with Archie Gray and Dragishin as our center back pairing. So that's what they're going to have to do. I mean, I was looking at it. I mean, what are they going to do? Slot Udogi in there? Like, I don't. The natural one for me would just be like Bentaker is somebody who can maybe slot in and play a center back, but he's suspended still. So
yeah.
like they have no options. So I
Dom
don't know.
Solanke's he's a big boy. And
Yeah, put
get
him
him
back
back
there.
there.
Yeah, why
He
not?
might
Put him back there.
he might be all right.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, so I don't know. It's just yeah, it's very troublesome. All right, let's move on to the final match. Good one on Monday. Uh,
Yes,
Bournemouth versus West Ham. Bournemouth is minus 138. West Ham plus 350. Draw at 3-1. I like Bournemouth quite a bit here.
yeah, I
But I'll
thought
let
you
you
would.
go. Yeah, but I'll let you go first.
So I was in between two bets, something pro Bournemouth, maybe their Asian line. I think it's minus 0.75 last time I looked. But I've ended up on both teams to score an over 2.5 go. So this is a bet I love. It was one of my three bets on the Bet Expert Football Pod this week. So like we get to choose bets from anywhere in the world, from any league, and this was one of them. So obviously like it.
Mhm.
And I just think goals is on the agenda again for West Ham. Bournemouth. Um, we saw it against Wolves. Um, any team that can fit in Kudus, Bowen, Somerville. I mentioned Somerville a minute ago. Three players who can individually pick the ball up, get fullbacks turn in. Somerville's so good at that. Saw it in the championship with Leeds. He is so good at that, especially. They can drag you up the pitch. They can create chances. And this Bournemouth team, like they are so good. We've sung their praises massively on One the Go. They are so good in attacking areas, in forward areas, but at the back, they've kept just 2 clean sheets in 15 games this season. West Ham have kept clean sheets in 15 games, and so these two sides are they rarely shut out opponents. And considering both are quite top heavy teams in terms of quality at the top end of the pitch, I think that's fair to say, BJ. I just don't
Mhm.
see why
Yep.
there wouldn't be goals here,
Right.
and why they wouldn't be shared out. Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals, that's around minus 120. It feels like a nice price. And if you look at the underlying data, only Chelsea and Liverpool, no, only Chelsea, sorry, have recorded a higher XG total than Bournemouth's 30.92 XG
Yeah.
this season. So Bournemouth are creating more high quality shooting opportunities than some of the best teams in the world, Man City,
Yeah.
Liverpool, etc.
Oh yeah.
And they are underperforming their XG massively, the
Yep.
most in the Premier League by around minus 7.92. So with that underperformance, it suggests that they are both being maybe a bit unlucky and a bit wasteful, but maybe that is something that we should see turn and regress to mean. And we should see them scoring more goals and getting more points on the board and really pushing up from that eighth
Oh
position. And
yeah.
that may feel crazy to say to some people because it's Bournemouth and, that maybe eighth is, maybe that's their ceiling, but I don't think it is. And if you look at their recent stats in their recent 6 games in terms of this bet, 5 out of 6 of Bournemouth's recent Premier League outings have landed both teams scoring over 2.5 goals. And the one match that fell short was 1-0 against Spurs. And the XG in that game was 3.71 XG versus 0.87 XG. So, yeah,
Yeah.
again, I love both teams in the final third. I hate West Ham defensively.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Bournemouth defensively. So, why wouldn't there be goals?
Yeah. So I on my Substack, my first Premier League simulations, I gave out a couple bets. Um, the prices are gone now, but both of them were involving Bournemouth. This season, only Liverpool has a better expected goal differential than Bournemouth. Now, to be fair, Bournemouth has had some penalties, they've had a little bit of red card luck, but still, right? Bournemouth, probably shouldn't be sitting as, the second best teams in terms of underlying numbers, but they are incredibly good under Iraola. And when you mention goals, I mean, there's a couple things that you know, come along with that is that, if West Ham is going to be, this team that is consistently still trying to build out of the back, well, Bournemouth's just going to deploy their press and they're going to cause a ton of problems. And I think they're going to, force a lot of high turnovers and create and turn those into easy transition opportunities, easy chances. And as you saw, they've been just a little bit wasteful with those chances they've had. But this season, Bournemouth excuse me, they are fifth in terms of turning opponents over in dangerous areas, but number one in ball recoveries, which tells me that they are incredibly hardworking team out of possession and that they win a lot of those 50-50 balls, which is really huge. West Ham this season is dead last in the Premier League in ground duel win rate. So I think Bournemouth definitely has a huge advantage. And, we can talk tactics all you want, Sam, but I say this quite often, and I've learned this from a lot of other smart people, is that
tactics don't really matter if you can't win duels, right? If you consistently can't win 50-50 balls,
Hmm.
doesn't matter what tactic you have. So I think Bournemouth in that aspect really can win those 50-50 balls. Now, like you mentioned, the worry here for Bournemouth is okay, we're going to press high and we're going to leave ourselves 1v1 on the back line against Kudos and Bowen and Somerville, right? That's dangerous. That's a very dangerous game to play. So I really
Yeah.
like your bet. I really think that, yeah, Bournemouth is definitely ripe to concede here. But I think this has the makings of like a 4-1 Bournemouth win because West Ham's defense this season is third to last in expected goals. They're 18th in final third entries allowed. They're 16th in expected threat. They're just 16th in big scoring chances allowed. It's not a good defense. And even if they try to sit in some type of low
It's
defensive
not.
block, it's bad. I mean, Bournemouth, I was on Bournemouth against Ipswich was just like, one of the more incredible wins I've had this season. And I thought they were well deserving of it as well. But, the one thing somebody put out there, but, Bournemouth obviously has great XG last three matches for Bournemouth 3.3 against Wolves, 3.5 against Tottenham, 3.2 against Ipswich. They're just, and they've scored in every match except for the one against, except they've scored in, let's see, looks like nine of their last 10. The only one they didn't score was against Leicester, and they created 2.1 expected goals in that match. So,
Right.
yeah, it's an incredible team. I think Iraola's high press and the way that they're able to. Now, they're very good at defending those long balls, but again, a lot of those long balls they're defending against are against not very good attackers. Teams like Ipswich and Wolves, for example. West Ham's got great attackers. So, but yeah, I think this has like the makings of a 4-1 Bournemouth win.
Yeah.
I have Bournemouth projected at minus 152 and in decimal format. If you want my projections and you're outside the United Kingdom, I have added decimal format to my projections. I've also added an edge screen for the Premier League in decimal format, which is 1.66 for Bournemouth. So that's where I have them projected. So getting them at minus 135, or I think that's like what, 1 point. I'm trying to do this on the fly. I think that's like
7-2.
1.72, somewhere in that range. I think is a great price on Bournemouth here on Monday. So, all right.
Bournemouth
So,
and both teams to score. Sorry, quickly is plus 200, and
yep,
I'll probably have something on that. Really, maybe a
yep,
little bit smaller stake, but yeah, after what we've discussed, it seems
yep,
like a bit of a no-brainer, maybe.
yep, exactly. All right. So before we get to Sam's championship pick, which is unfortunately is going to be fading Plymouth, it looks like. Put your questions in the chat right now, and I'll read them off at the end here. Otherwise, we'll just end it. So, take us to the championship, Sam. We've already talked about the state of Plymouth Argyle, which is not ideal at the moment. But you're fading them again
I,
this weekend.
again, yeah, I've been going against them every single away day. I'm just quickly checking if the prices are still there because I see Sheffield United to win prices come in a bit. Right, okay. Right, okay. So one of the bets is still there. So we can get Sheffield United to score over 1.5 goals and Plymouth Argyle to not score at plus plus 140.
Okay.
So it's a big price. Plymouth Argyle are really struggling under Wayne Rooney at present. They are terrible away from home, especially. They've lost 8 out of 10 games. This feels like therapy a bit. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
They've conceded 27 goals in 10 away games, 2.7 goals conceded per 90. I've witnessed most of them in the flesh as well around the UK, and it's not been fun in the cold.
Yeah.
And now they're coming up against a really, really good Sheffield United side, a Sheffield United side who have seen a lot of turnover in the summer. They've bought incredibly well. The players coming into the club have really impressed, and they also stole Plymouth Argyle's keeper as well for pittance, which is
Oh,
brilliant.
lovely.
And yeah, cheers for that. I think he's kept he must have kept 8 clean sheets in a row at home. So Sheffield United have conceded 2 goals in their 9 home games this season. 2 goals. No other teams conceded fewer at home in the Championship, nor the Premier League, nor the EFL. Those 2 goals came in mid-August against QPR in the first game of the season, and since then, that was in a 2-2 draw. Since then, Sheffield United have won 8 games on the bounce at home, haven't conceded a goal with Michael Cooper in net. Plymouth Argyle have played 10 away games so far this season, and they still haven't posted over 1.0 XG. They don't look like scoring at all. And on top of that, our best 2 attacking players are out until 2025, Morgan Whittaker and
Oh
Ibrahim
no.
Sissoko. So I mentioned it on the Bet Expert Pod. This was another one of my bets. We didn't have a shot away to Leeds United
Oh
at Ellen
gosh.
Road, and I would place, in terms of home teams who are capable defensively, I would place Sheffield United in a similar category. So we didn't have that sink in. Like, when do you see that? We didn't have one shot at Leeds
Oh
United.
geez.
So I would say maybe we might have 1 or 2 shots, but I think Sheffield United are in a similar category. And yes, Argyle can get a goal here, but I just think it's going to be really, really tough for them to do so. Looking at their 10 matches in terms of underlying data, 6 of 10 of those away matches have fallen below 0.5 XG accumulated. So look, away from home, dreadful, sliding
Yeah.
towards relegation. I think we're going to need a bit of a miracle. Unfortunately, we're probably going to be in League One next year. So yeah, but it's a good bet.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's all that
Yep.
matters, right? So
Yeah. Plymouth is minus 400 to be relegated right now, which is very sad.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
can
is sad.
see that.
But hey, maybe we just get Rooney out of there. Maybe we get a little new manager bounce and we get things turned in the right direction. Who knows in 2025.
Maybe, maybe I've seen a lot of the fan base kind of leaning towards getting Steven Schumacher back, and
Okay.
because he got sacked at Stoke, and he is a really good manager, and I think he still lives in Plymouth. Like, I think his family's
Okay.
still down there and stuff. So
Well, let's do
if it goes
that.
tits up,
Let's get
yeah,
him on the phone. Let's give him a call.
if it continues to go tits up, then that might be
Yeah.
a ready replacement, but we'll
Yeah.
see. But it's looking bleak, BJ, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. All right, so that'll do it for everything. Astana scored. It's 3-1
I've,
Chelsea at halftime.
wow, okay, didn't
Yeah.
expect that.
Yeah. A lot of goals.
Comeback is on.
A lot of goals. I don't have live XG in front of me, what it is. But so yeah, that'll do it. Questions so far. Best bet for the week. And for me, I would say that Liverpool Fulham under is my favorite of everything. What about you? If you had to pick one, Sam.
It would be that Sheffield United Plymouth Argyle
Yeah.
bet in the
Yeah.
Premier League. Look, maybe it's a bit short at minus 139,
gosh.
but maybe Chelsea
Yeah.
win and Chelsea most corners. Really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That I like that one as well. Does Lopetegui make it to New Year? No. It would be my simple answer to that question. I think
No.
if they get housed at Bournemouth, I think he's gone. And the people want an underdog parlay. Oh boy. Because these did so well when we were on the goal. Tavernier is out for Bournemouth. Schedule Friday starting to look favorable.
I'm
No,
gonna
I
go.
don't know so it says, if Tavernier's out for Bournemouth, schedule, they have a lot of, they honestly, I know he's important, but they actually have a lot of great attackers that they can slot in there. Getting worried, the injuries are piling up. If even Nielsen goes down, is that a wrap? No, because they can play Semenyo as a striker. People don't realize this, Sam. I think let me pull this up really quick before we go. Um,
He's brilliant, Semenyo as well.
He's awesome, but his shot production numbers are like Holland level.
Yeah, through the roof. So
They're
he came
just
through in the championship. He was at Bristol City. He was really
yeah,
inconsistent, but he always had something. And now he's just kicked on to a whole new level, obviously, like in the
right.
Premier League, but so impressive.
Holland 4.5 shots per 90, Semenyo 4.2 in second. So they'll just play him as a striker if even Nelson goes down. They'll be totally fine. Don't worry.
Even Nielsen is
He's
I've been
important.
so
Don't get me wrong. Like he's
I've
important.
been
It's not
so
like
impressed with
it's
him.
yeah, he's very good and um but
But these are ifs and buts as well, aren't they? Like, he
right,
may be absolutely fine. I don't know what his injury record is like, but
right.
hopefully he sees 38 games, and I would love nothing more than Bournemouth to edge towards even just a Conference League place or something. I would love to see them in Europe.
Oh,
That'd be
I
brilliant to
think they'll
see.
be well if one of the futures I gave out comes true, they'll be in the Europa League, Sam.
That'd be nice.
That'd be great. Underdog parlay. Gosh.
Shall I kick it off?
Yeah, go
I'm,
ahead.
I'm,
Go.
I
You go
want to
first.
I want to kick it off so you don't steal it. I'm gonna go for Saliba anytime goal scorer
Okay, there you go. There you go. All right, we'll put sleep anytime goal
for
scored in there.
all the
Let me
reasons
just
outlined.
yeah, let me just look through.
He should be near a cross or
Oh
a free
yeah.
kick or
Oh
two, you'd
yeah. So
imagine.
that
So
this will get it up nice and high. Let me just quickly look through. I was just going to quickly look through my projections to find any ones from the other leagues real fast. Another one would be let's see. Let's throw there was one I really liked in yeah, so let's throw Real Betis in there against Villarreal. I'm gonna keep fading them even though Villarreal keeps winning. Uh, and let's do a Premier League one. Should we do I'll give you the choice. Should we do should I put Leicester or Crystal Palace in there? Because I think
Christ.
I don't know. That's Leicester seems dumb.
um, maybe. Oh,
Palace or uh
maybe.
you
No,
have
I
one in
don't
the
know.
championship that you like at all?
Um,
Trying to think here.
yeah,
Uh,
maybe like Sheffield United over 2.5 goals or something.
there you go. Okay, so
That is.
Sheffield United
That's
over 2 point here. Let me get
that's
the
plus
odds.
110 apparently.
Well, that's
So
plus 110. Okay.
maybe
So
maybe over 3 goals.
over 3.5 goals. Um what was I looking at? By the way, Sam, I was looking at the XG table. I'll be honest, I'm gonna get more. I promise everybody, I'm gonna get more back into the championship. I just haven't had time to do it. The XG table is crazy in the championship right now. It's utter
Yeah,
madness. I mean,
it's not good viewing for me, that's for sure.
I mean, no, well, yeah, it's not good for Plymouth, but I'm just looking at this right now. I mean, Coventry City, or excuse me, has the third best expected goal differential, and they're in 16th place.
Yeah,
Is that true? What's
yeah.
going on?
Frank Lampard's Coventry City now.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, yeah.
I
There was
forgot that he was hired
yeah,
by
he's
them.
back. So Robin's
That's
left
so great.
maybe 3 weeks ago now, and he's taken over. Um,
Okay.
yeah, just massively underperforming, not getting results over the line, and they got rid of Robbins. I
Yeah.
think Robbins was there for a long time. He was the longest serving EFL manager, and they got rid of him.
Yeah.
So intrigued at how Frank's gonna do.
Yeah.
Um,
We have Hull City who's in last place with an even expected goal differential. Um, gosh, you have Millwall's up there in the top six. They're in 13th place. Wow, that's crazy. Um, that's what I was gonna look at. Coventry is they're at home against Hull. Um, Middlesbrough is also very good, though, but they're at
yeah,
home and they're big favorites. So yeah, let's do Sheffield United. Hang on, real quick. This is great. This is great live streaming. Let's do Sheffield United over 3.5, which is 3-1. I'm gonna build this parlay really quick, and this is totally gonna hit. Um, okay, so I have Sheffield over 3.5. We have Saliba anytime goal scorer at what is his price at? He's gonna be at sorry everybody, I'm navigating.
11-1, I think.
11-1. Okay. All right. William Saliba, where are you? There you are. 11-1. And then Real Betis is plus 333. It's at 207-1. So there you go, everybody. You want a big one? There it is.
It's not bad. It'll
Not
lose
bad.
by 4 p.m. UK time on Saturday, but it'd have been
Yeah.
fun
Yeah,
for an
it'll be
hour and a
fun.
half.
Okay. All right. We've gone on long enough here. I think that'll do it. Thank you very much, Sam, for doing this. Thank you, everybody who tuned in.
No
Thank you, everybody who
problem.
has been subscribing to the Substack and supporting
Can I
that.
just say, BJ,
Yeah.
actually, and I know you're not going to do it, and I don't really want to blow smoke up your ass, but I see there's a few questions about your Substack
Oh
in the
yeah,
chat.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to say I think I might have been one of the first to subscribe. I really wanted to be the first. I don't know if I was, but so yeah, I've had it for what, it's been going for a week, maybe
Yeah,
week
just
and a
about a
half.
week. Yeah,
It's really good. It's really good. Obviously, you get all the projections, but also get the edge screen and the best bet section. I'm a part of a fair few like premium services that I
yeah,
sign up for, for information and stuff. I run my own, and this is probably the most in-depth betting type service that I've seen, and it's for like a fiver a month, which is
yeah.
ridiculous. So some people are charging upwards of 50,
Right.
60 quid a month. So yeah, it's worth your money, even if you try out for a month, and you'll definitely see. So it's worth getting, I'd say.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I want to do a lot more with it than just what I'm doing right now. Obviously, the first week we had the Champions League and Europa League, and the fixtures piling up. So I was just like, all right, well, we need to get the best bets out first before doing like the extra stuff. But yeah, I had an idea the other night. I think in the future I'm gonna do what I call a Monday rewatch, where I just put it out like a poll out on Twitter and be like, what match do you want like me to dive deep into? And just like do a rewatch and just do like a tactical breakdown of that. I'm gonna do more team like centric breakdowns as well. The first one I'm gonna do, Sam, is I'm gonna take a deep dive into Everton. I think I want to take a really
Nice.
deep dive and figure out what's going on. So yeah, so that's some of the more stuff that I'm gonna do. But yeah, for the Substack, I'll put the link in the description once this is over. But if you want to find the link, it's pinned to the top of my Twitter page at BJ Cunningham 22. But yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this for a while. Thank you. I mean, today I hit my goal of what I wanted to do in the first week, so that's wonderful. It gives me a little more confidence that I can actually do this on my own for a little bit. So yeah, so that'll wrap it up, everybody. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in, for supporting. Thank you, Sam. I hope you win your bet, but I also hope things turn around for Plymouth Argyle. So